Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are tired of the mega bank soul-crushing experience that you get at some of these banks, and if you're at one, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to drag you through the hell of remembering all that. If you're looking for a better banking experience for your business, try Renaissance. I have found, and if you don't believe me, believe some of the folks that I've sent to Renaissance. They come back and tell me that Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need that they can throw at them, but they're small enough to do it in a personal way. And they value that kind of magic combination. Go to renaissancebank.com, find a local office near you, and learn for yourself. And I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Ercell Charles and Merle Heckman. Ercell and Merle are the co-authors of a newly released book called Why People Work. Ercell, Merle, welcome.
Thank you, John.
Glad
to be here.
Yeah, glad to have both of you. I'm excited about letting people know about this book, and I'm just going to say on the front end, it is terrific. So if you have more than 0 employees, you need to read this book. So that's a pretty big audience. But let's get into the details of the book itself. Ercell, Merle, why this book?
John, we had the same thing. There's literally thousands of leadership books out there really speaking about how we should influence, lead, direct, and guide people, achieve organizational results and the like. And we wanted to give a different perspective based on from an employee point of view. And Why People Work is a culmination of our 30 plus or maybe even 40 plus years of working in corporate America, understanding that you could be a great leader, but you need resources to help you get to where you want to go. You need people to help move them forward. Mm-hmm. And this book speaks to every individual's why do they get up in the morning? What we say is give the filet mignon part of the day to another organization when they use their time, attention, and their best faculties to accompany an organization. And at the same time, come home and they might just give their family some dessert if they got home, if they had a good day. So we really wanted to address it from the employee's point of view based on some of the different challenges in the workplace today.
Yeah, I love that because so many of the books, seminars, tips, LinkedIn posts are all about really from the employer's perspective. And so it's a whole nother matter to talk about where employees are and what's going on in their heads and the value that they see in their work that maybe employers don't see. Right, Merle?
Yes. And as a matter of fact, John, one of the things we've done in a very informal polling way is we've asked a lot of people this question. If you approach the average supervisor and manager and ask them, why do your people come to work? The overwhelming answer that we get, they have to have a paycheck. And of course, everybody's got to have money to live, got to have resources. There is so much more that is deeper that often makes the difference of the way the employee's satisfaction level works. It makes the difference of how long they stay, whether they get involved. And what we've been able to delve into is more than just the check. Not ignoring that, but more than just the check. What are those hidden things below the surface that really appeal to the needs that people have that they get in a workplace?
I think the sad part about it, Merle, it strikes me that another answer you're going to get a lot from supervisors and business owners is, I don't know. That's another one of their answers they're going to give to that question on why people come to work, right?
which is very sad.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we have our strategic business plans. We have our plans for lean manufacturing or lean production. We have our plans for our sales teams. We have all our different plans in place. But yet the people that really make it all go, they are human beings, and they have these inner longings. And that's one of the things we believe we can tap into and help make people more aware.
So one of the things I want to point out here to folks that are future readers of the book, and I know hopefully there are going to be a lot of them once they listen to this interview, compensation is not really dealt with until much later in the book. It's about, I think, 2/3 of the way through the book.
Right.
And Ercell, you call it reward, as y'all have written about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about the difference between compensation and reward.
Okay. We look at compensation as, of course, what a person is paid, their value to the organization, how they deliver the different services that they provide. But compensation is the exchange for reward, is the sense of feeling, belonging, pride, accomplishment that they have. I speak in the book about my father, who worked the graveyard shift in a diamond crystal salt mine. And he would always tell me it takes a special person to work the third shift. Because I was complaining about him missing my high school basketball games. And I mean, why can't you just change shifts? But he took so much pride, his reward, that he was leading a group of men, possibly women back in the day, to really help them see the significance of working the third shift. And so is the pride, the esteem that a person has. There's a lot of people paid extremely well. And at times they don't feel that sense of reward, that sense of accomplishment, appreciation. We speak to that very fact that reward is what someone provides. We use the analogy of a seesaw. A seesaw, you see them when they go up, you saw them when they go back down. But the whole point of that is that it's what we exchange for the work that we give. Now, compensation is the end result, but reward is what a person feels in terms of their own self-esteem, their own sense of purpose, their own sense of ambition. And I think that's why we extrapolate the two. Everybody gets compensated, and compensation can mean something, but we really want to make sure that people work for reward. I want to be recognized, appreciated for the job that I do well. And I want my bosses to tell me about it as well.
Sure. I was curious about that story. I'm glad you brought it up. I was wondering whether your father felt that own sense of self-worth in his work because of what he was told about his work, or was it self-generated? Or do you know?
I believe it was both. I would think it was first self-generated. My father always told me you need to work hard. And always, my dad had, I've let you borrow my name, so don't mess it up. So he was one that's really a proud man. And he took pride about the way he went about doing his work. And he was really proud about working the same shift. The unique thing about that is that during a period where the company changed and they went through a major catastrophe where they shut down the mine, he was so revered that even though he was not the general manager of the plant, even though he wasn't the person he was just one of the nightly supervisors, they leaned on his direction. They leaned on his accomplishments in the way that he was able to lead and influence people. He felt proud that he could go to work at 11 o'clock at night, and when he came home at 7 a.m. in the morning, that he did a job well done. So I think it was first inside himself. And I think from that, others in his organization appreciated his effort.
This story stood out to me because for all the reasons that you talked about, but third shift is hard to hire for. It's gotten a lot harder in recent years, right? And there are folks that are closing down early that didn't used to do that because of that. Merle, let's talk about what leads up to reward, because I fast forwarded just to make a point there that compensation is not number one here, but in the book, before you get to reward, you talk about relationship, respect, responsibility. Let's walk through some of those.
let's start with responsibility, John.
Okay.
And by the way, when you look at most national surveys about how people view reward and their compensation, it is rarely number one. It is usually farther down the line to 4 and 5 in those surveys. But let's start with the idea of relationship, because every person wants to feel connection. Everybody wants to feel a part of something. We found that when we talk about people coming into a workplace, they want to have some kind of relationship with their boss. It doesn't mean that they have to be the best buds and the all-time friends. They really do long for the boss to know who they are, to know a little bit about them, even to do more than just say, how was your weekend? That's good. But the boss that will take time just to have a bit of conversation, that's huge. So there's a relationship there. And then, John, we really do have some relationship with people at our work, the coworkers. There's something about that. A lot of times I say, why do you like a workplace? And people say, it's the people, man. I like getting in there and pulling together our efforts. And that's a big deal. And when that is squelched, especially by the boss, and if the boss doesn't take some time, then many people say, does anybody here know that I'm real, that I matter? So that's a big part of it.
And I think there are bosses out there that feel like if I create an environment that's too much fun, then productivity goes down, right? That's the rejoinder to what you're describing, right?
I heard the statement years ago called work made fun gets done. And at one place that I was invited to speak when I worked in manufacturing, I was sent to one of our locations here in the U.S. that had the lowest employee engagement score of any of our locations. And they said, Merle, could you go in for a couple of days and teach and fix this? And I said, sure, let me take it on. So I was working with the people and teaching them, how do you have some general conversation? What do you talk to people about? General interaction. And they practiced it and they liked it. But then they said, hey, Merle, this is good, but it won't work here. Oh, okay. Why? If a manager sees any of us stand around and talk to somebody more than a minute, they will rush up and say, what's the matter? Do you need more work to do? I can give you a lot more work if you need it. Now, I'm not suggesting that people always kill 15, 20 minutes. I'm not suggesting that. Mm-hmm. But people want to have this, it's like the old show Friends. People want to go someplace where they knew they were thought of and known about. So that is a vital part. That's what we want when we work, some relationship with people.
If I could add to that, if you don't mind.
Please.
We see that all these R's that we talked about, these 6 R's, is a conduit for creating culture. Either you're creating culture or one being created for you. And what it means is that if you're not trying to be focused on culture from the organizational side, then it impacts engagement, it impacts retention. So these are not must-haves to do, but they really have a dramatic impact, not just on retaining people, but creating a type of culture that's important. When people feel that they get to know their boss through relationships, they know they're going to give opportunities for responsibility. They know that they're going to be recognized appropriately. That becomes part of who they are as an organization. It creates that esprit de corps that organizations foster. I think about some of those organizations. I have friends who are Marines, and I love the Marines because I just like living vicariously through some of my friends. And no matter how difficult of a challenge they go through to become a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. They've created such a powerful culture of serving and what they're all about. Simplify, always faithful. Mm-hmm. It's just phenomenal that they could create that. But it comes from those 6 R's. Now, maybe from a different point of view, but it really comes about how we respect each other, we reward each other, we recognize, how we give people responsibility. Mm-hmm. So I think we're leading to a larger thing, a larger point of view that when you can build these strategies, concepts, and integrate them as a leader, at the end of the day, I think it makes your job much more easier. You're creating a culture that you really want to have in your organization.
Folks, we're here chatting with Ercell Charles and Merle Heckman. Ercell and Merle are the authors of Why People Work, and the subtitle, I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning, is Discovering Your Employees' Hidden Expectations. Now, you mentioned this series of ours. Let's talk about respect. And respect's one of those things that I think if you ask the typical employer, do you respect your employees? Everyone would say yes. Of course we do, right?
Yeah.
So why do we need to read a chapter on respect?
In fact, respect is a prerequisite to anything else happening. Think about it. When we initially, even before trust is accomplished, we're going to respect each other appropriately. And we're going to give, if I use the term, honor where honor is due. We're going to assume best intent on each person. Then over time, that respect is important to get trust. Now, that's a great question, John, because I think every boss will tell you, every leader will say, I respect my people. The question is, if you ask the same people, employees, if they feel respected, they will say, you know what? I'm not listened to. My ideas may not be valued. I'm put off. My leader's not available. And again, we're not trying to call out leaders, but these are things that are important when people feel respected. I think we don't, and here's the thing, respect is also assumed. When we get a respect, we assume we're going to have it. So when somebody respects us, we don't go and say, Merle gave me the greatest sense of respect today. But boy, if I did not do something to respect Merle, even unintentionally, either I'll hear about it or I'll hear about it from someone else. I found out something today in a meeting, totally shocked me that someone felt that I did not listen to them. That created an opportunity to feel that they were, and I could sense they didn't feel that respect. And they said, I told you about that a couple of weeks ago. Now, it wasn't my intention to not listen. I think maybe my mind was clouded with other things. But those are ambitions, desires, and aspiration that each person have. They want to feel respected. Now, I know what some people might say. These are just Ercell. In fact, we've had people say these are very simple. But simple does not mean strategic or powerful or accomplishing things. You know what I mean? Simple doesn't mean it is easy to do. You have to take time to build respect. He talked about demonstrating humility. We talked about empathetic listening. We talked about those things that really gives your employee the fact that they're feeling respected during that process. So it's action that we have to take for outcomes that we desire. So if we want to be respected, then there are actions I need to take so that the outcomes I can have with the people we serve.
And Ercell, just to add to that, and you alluded it, everybody as human beings wants to be respected. We crave that. We have to take the initiative, whether we have the title of a boss or leader, or whether we are an employee, because we're all leading each other. We need to take the initiative to display that respect and work to earn it back. It is a two-way street, but it is so critical for every person to feel that way.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Merle, let's talk about responsibility.
I've had people tell me, John, most people, they just want to come show up and they want to do their thing and leave. And that's certainly in certain roles, that's fine for people. But there is something about every one of us that like to know that we are the go-to on a particular topic. Perhaps it is having, again, my manufacturing background or working in logistics, the driver that could deliver the key load to make sure it got there. The person operating the drill press that knew they could be the one to say, I'm the go-to person to get this done. There's something in the heart of every man and every woman, every person that says, I want to feel like I can be given some responsibilities, that I'm reliable, and these people believe in me. We use the story in the book about the famous song, Put Me in, Coach. I'm ready to play today. And that's how we are. And we like that. We don't always know how to respond to it, but we like that when we know that they believe in me.
So, Ercell, there's a chapter in this book that I think will stand out for folks, if I can be so bold as to say that. Mm-hmm. And it's not an R that I think folks would expect maybe when they pick up the book. And the R is, in this case, reverence. Mm-hmm. So explain what you mean by reverence and why reverence is so important.
Reverence is the word we use for an individual feeling that what they do makes a difference in their own eyes. In other words, this is my own sense of purpose, own sense of direction. Now, whether it's within the job or role within the organization or outside, when we talk about leaders reverencing their employees, doesn't mean that, I stand back, oh my gosh, look at Merle and reverence. The reverence means that to this person, this job means something more. It's not just a job. It's a calling, possibly. It's an aspiration, a lifelong dream and commitment. And one of the aspirations that I speak about, why even what I've done today, I will not, let me say this first, that I've always saw myself as a coach. I was the Bobby Crimmins on the sideline. I was the Pat Riley's. I wanted to be that basketball coach. And in my career, whether it's been consulting or training or whatever, or speaking, I feel that sense of empowerment. I feel I'm doing something that was purpose and created to do. Now, I don't know if work has a place for that, but I think that as we look for those things that are important to people, whether it's within the organization or outside, we truly esteem every individual. And as we add value to that individual, we add value to an organization. And I know that I could work with an organization that esteems what's important for me. Whether it's, I remember talking to Patrick Hankey last week, and IT professional does great, but his esteem comes from coaching people, coaching these young men in lacrosse. He's a lacrosse coach. He loves it. And he said, I'll do everything I can to do my job so I can spend time with those 14 and 16-year-old young men to make them feel that there's some value in their life. When you connect your job or your work or something to something meaningful, and of course, we talk about Apple, and all you want to do is make sugar all your life. When he was talking to the executive about coming over to Apple, people want to make a difference. And here's the difference. It's the difference between being successful and living a life of significance. I think every person to what just encounters, it aligns with responsibility, because I want to do something that matters. And when we do these things, we tell people they matter. As leaders, again, I might not be involved. I might not go to their games. I may not be a part of it, but I want to know what matters. Why you're investing this time, this effort, your sense of responsibility, and why is it important to you? And I think that's when we talk about reverence, really understanding from the employee's point of view, what is revered about what they do and why it means so much to them.
Merle, you want to add to that?
Yes. A place that I used to work at, John, we would give out a evaluation for people who were potential coming into a job. And that it had a good dynamic to it that would show what some of their really areas of strength were. And we could tell based on their answers, if a particular aspects of the job, it would describe that these bring energy or these are like zapping their strength. And when people can do the work, whether we want to call it God-given abilities or just innate abilities, John, if you put me doing spreadsheets and detailed work and things like that, I'd figure out how to do it, but it would zap the life out of me. But when people have learned, I've had bosses that watch me and observe me and said, Merle, let's put you over doing this and let you get involved in this. It's like that fit who I was. And a part of that reverence is when we do all that we can to guide people to that spot that is them, their wheelhouse, that lets them use the abilities that they have in their areas of strength. It's a great way to approach life in the workplace.
I'm glad you mentioned that last phrase there, because I think a lot of people are going to listen to this interview and think that they need it if they're a boss, but otherwise they don't need it. And this book strikes me as having importance and relevance to more than just leaders in the workplace.
Yes.
So I'd like to hear from both of you on that. Merle, you start.
we have often said, Ercell has children, I have 7 adult children, that I wanted them to be able, and fortunately they found places to work that fit who they were. But something like this book would be even good for a college student that's just starting in their full-time realm of work to say, am I going to a workplace that provides these? For the person that's in the workplace right now, it's just not clicking inside of them. This would give a resource for them to say, let me know what I need to be looking for in a workplace. Those are a couple of aspects of people, not just the boss.
Yeah.
Ercell, what else would you build on?
I was going to just share my daughter, Nola. She just finished her first year at Georgia Tech, did really well for her first year. And she's going through what I'm going to major in. She started with public policy. Now she's going to biotech engineering. And what I believe what this book points to is that sometimes in her case, she's very bright. She got offers from every school she applied to, and we're grateful for that and so and thankful. But she's challenged with, if I go to work, what should I be looking for? If I start putting it, so I started talking to her about, you want to build relationships with people that are like-minded people. You want to be sure that you respect others. I'm just going on listening. You want to be sure that you're given responsibility that really provides you opportunities to grow with the organization. And you want to make sure you're being recognized and contribute and recognize the work of others. And then I got the reverence. This is the thing you want to do, that if you don't even get paid for it, you can make a difference in someone else's life. And she starts thinking. So we're planning out her whole role about where she wants to be. And right now it's technical engineering, and she's gotten a way to integrate her own art with that. And we're just talking through chapters in the book, the titles of the book, because it helps people see that the book is for leaders. We really think that leaders want to be. But even if you're looking for an organization, as you start working for her, and it's not just asking others to do that, your leaders, it's what you also want to provide as a contributor. You want to go in there and you want to make sure that you're building appropriate relationships and you're responsible and you recognize the contributions of others. So the book is really a two-way street. We speak to leaders because nothing ever happens in life without good leadership. That's at least what we believe. But from that leader, and as contributors, you're leaders. You may not have the title, rank, and file, but you're still leading individuals. So you're still influencing everyone. So it's really important from whatever role you take, whether you manage thousands of people or a few people, or even leading yourself. It gives you some insights on what you should expect. And guide also, once you start leading people, it gives you strategies on what you can do to maintain that for others.
Wow, this has been great, gentlemen, and congratulations on this work. I want to give you each a chance to maybe add to anything you want to add to, or if not, just suggest what you think readers of the book are going to take away from this book, or what you hope they will. Merle, you want to take a shot at that first?
Yeah. Certainly. We want these ideas to be encouraging ideas. And there are doable ideas with practical selection recommendations. As a matter of fact, in every chapter, we talked about discretionary effort, and we talk about leaders' discretionary effort. So whether you have a title or don't have a title, these are courses of action to help put these into practice and influence people around. And we realize that work is a blessing. It's not a curse. It's a blessing to have opportunities. And for the person that reads this, we want you to have the opportunity to say, this is how I can get the ultimate joy of not only earning a living, but living a life while I do my work.
What I would add to this, and it's so well said, Merle, what I would add to this, why people would read this book. And again, it may seem trivial, maybe even trite, but I think it's important. How to take care of the people you work with every day. This book is how to take care of people, whether you're a contributor or a leader. What is expected from other people? That's why they're hidden expectations. People don't go to work and say, hey, how are you going to recognize me today? Are you going to show me respect? But it's assumed it's going to happen.
Right.
Let's be intentional about our leadership. Let's be intentional about our relationships. And when we're intentional about it, we reap what we sow. You appreciate, you magnify. And here's what I believe. Good leaders never get pushed out. they get pushed up. When you do these things, you're inspiring your leadership. Because the key to leadership is creating other leaders. And when we take care of our people, as well as the strategies, the obligations we have, the outcomes we need to gain, but I believe if I have to take care of any challenge and get any kind of outcome, if I have my team with me, I don't think there's anything we couldn't accomplish together. We believe this book provides those strategies on how to make that happen.
Wow. Ercell Charles and Merle Heckman. Ercell and Merle are the co-authors of the book, Why People Work, Discovering Your Employees' Hidden Expectations. Again, folks, you really need to buy the book and check it out. You will, I guarantee you will gain something out of it. If you don't, let me know, and I'll buy the book from you and give it to someone else because I'm that confident that you will get something out of this book. Gentlemen, congratulations on your great work. Let's get to the most important question, I think, which is how folks can learn more, how they can find out about the book, where to buy the book.
Absolutely. Right there on Amazon, go to Amazon, Ercell Charles, Ercel is a different name. Charles is the last name. And look for Why People Work. It's going to pop up for you. You can order it there. If you like to listen, there's an audible copy of it. If you like to read on your device, there's an ebook there as well. We know there's other offerings on Target. It's going to be Target book lists as well and others as well. So please avail yourself to it. And we really believe that it's going to really enhance your ability to influence others around you as well.
Ercell Charles, Merle Heckman, thank you again so much for coming on. We appreciate you and delighted we could shine the light on this great work.
And John, thank you for having us. Really appreciate your medium and what it does for people like ourselves to really get our message out. You do a great job, and all continued success in the future for you.
Thanks to both of you. I appreciate that very much. Hey, folks, just a couple quick things before we let you go for today. If you are in the metro Atlanta area and you do not know about Casa Nova Italian Restaurant, then I am about to make your day. So here's the deal. They were farm to table before farm to table was cool. They're about 26 years old, and they grow basil, oregano, vegetables, everything right behind the restaurant and bring it in, and they make authentic, classic, traditional Italian dishes with those ingredients. They serve fresh seafood. They're tremendous. So I sent a couple of folks there this past weekend, and they came back raving. Go to CasanovaRestaurant.com to learn more, to make reservations, and ask about their catering while you're at it too. But you'll be glad you did. I have just come out with a book myself. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. Now, if you're a solo, small professional services provider, you're having issues with confidence in your value, how to express your value, how to price to that value, this book could be for you. Go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more and find out where to buy the book, which is basically everywhere. And I want to thank you, our listener. We're up to show number, I think, 770, something like that. And we've only gotten this far because of you. You continue to support the show in so many different ways, sharing it with others that you think might enjoy the guest. You like us on social media. You give us great feedback on our show's guest. And so you send us guests. So you support us in so many different ways, and we're grateful for that. And I want to thank you for that, because you help us live into our mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region and beyond. So for my guests, Ercell Charles and Merle Heckman, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.